Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're really thrilled to have you. I'm Bonnie Eisner. I'm the Director of Communications at the Graduate Center. And I'm here to welcome you and kick this off. You're really in for a treat today. Your hosts, Coralie Carlson and Beth Harpaz, bring extensive journalism experience to their roles, promoting both the Graduate Center and Baruch's Weissman College on social media and on digital media. They're also avid social media users themselves. Today, they'll share their expert tips for using social media to promote your scholarship and events, and even guide you through some hands-on activities. Those of you who are from Baruch likely know Beth as the communications manager at Baruch's Weissman School of Arts and Sciences. Prior to jumping into that role earlier this year, Beth ran CUNY's highly successful SUM website, which drew attention to the far-ranging research of CUNY students and faculty. And before coming to CUNY, Beth was an editor at the Associated Press for nearly 30 years. She is also the author of 3 books. Coralie manages social media promotion and advertising for the Graduate Center. She oversees the Graduate Center's accounts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. She has significantly grown our following on all of these platforms. She also teaches social and digital media to journalism students and is a lecturer at Hunter College. And before joining the Graduate Center, she was the weekend editor at NBC New York and an editor and news producer at the Associated Press. Also joining us to welcome you and say a few words is Jessica Lang, who is the interim dean of Weissman School of Arts and Sciences. And just one thing before Jessica talks, as there are so many of us today, you are welcome to ask questions and post comments. We just ask that you do it in the chat, and the presenters will take note of that. It'll just help us keep our flow going. So let me just turn it over to Jessica to say a few words before we jump in.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. I am delighted to launch this event and to give a few opening comments. First of all, I just want to thank Bonnie Eisner, Beth Harpaz, and Coralie Carlson for their work in putting the event together. There are so many ties between the Graduate Center and the Weissman School of Arts and Sciences. Many of them are academic and come out in our teaching and research, but I can't think of a better partnership than in this kind of event, which focuses on effectively using social media for academics. Beth in Weissman has grown Weissman's presence in social media by over 1,000%, which says a lot about Beth and also where we were before Beth arrived. So social media is just such a powerful tool, both for us as a school and for us as individual scholars and academicians. And I think this is a wonderful partnership, and I'm looking forward to more events that bring together strengths in the Graduate Center and in the Weissman School of Arts and Sciences. So welcome, everyone, and thank you so much to our organizers.
Thank you, Bonnie and Dean Lang, for that wonderful introduction. I'm Coralie Carlson, and also, Beth, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Great to see you. Thanks for this great turnout.
Yes, and we'll just dig in here. So let's start with an underlying premise here, and that is, why should you even do this, right? Why should you try using social media? There are some good reasons, some valid reasons, especially in this time when we can't get together with people very much. It's a great way to connect and network. For the faculty in our audience today, it's a great way to be a role model. For students in our audience today, it's a great way to find role models. And for both parties, it's a great way to be a role model to those who are even younger or just starting off in your fields. It's a great way to promote your work and the events that you're participating in, that you want to draw a crowd to. Let's be honest, that's a lot of what we're here for, but if that's all you're doing, you're probably not doing it right. And one reason why, just selfishly, I want you all to be participating on social media is because I want your voice to be part of these larger conversations. I think we need more people who can use science-based reasoning to join the conversation, to inform people, and just kind of like keep things really real and based in facts. So I think you do your part to just like pull the conversation down and keep it grounded. One more thing I will say before we go on is that there are studies that have been done that have shown that if your studies have been promoted on Twitter, they get more citations. Now, this varies by field, so you would have to do some research and find out how effective it is in your field, but there is also that tangible benefit if you're trying to get your research cited more often. So today, let's take a quick look at what we're planning to go through. We're going to review the pros and cons of the different social networks that you could be using. We're going to walk through setting up and optimizing your Twitter account, and review the best practices, and also how to get more followers. That's what everyone wants to know. So that's why I save it for last, so that you'll stick with me. Let's start with Twitter. Should you be using it? Beth, what do you say?
Oh, absolutely. That's where the academics are. That's where the journalists are.
Absolutely. Just the way the platform is set up, it's so easy. It's made for sharing links to articles, links to more information. And the way that we want to share information, we don't want to just make a statement. We want to have facts to back it up. So instead of just saying, I've discovered this, I learned this, you can include a link to an article that provides more information and backs up what you say. It is a good way to connect with students and professors. It's not the biggest social network. Of course, that's Facebook. But there are like niche audiences that are on Twitter a lot. And I think you will be able to find with just a very little bit of searching, different academic fields of study have a big concentration of people, and you will be able to connect with people in your field from all over the world. Another industry that is really overrepresented on Twitter is journalists. So if you want to get press on some of your research, it's a great way to find and connect with journalists. I will tell you, when I worked at NBC New York, I would get hundreds of emails a day, hundreds. We rarely, if ever, paid attention to a cold pitch that we got by email. But if someone tweeted a journalist, everybody stopped and listened. I can't explain why it was more effective, but we all were like, it was almost like, you know, you got a gold star if you could say, I learned this on Twitter. It's a great way to reach out for journalists. Did you want to add anything else, Beth?
No, let's move on.
Here we go.
So we're going to use some great examples from some of our colleagues at Baruch and the Graduate Center today. This is a little bit of an icky topic, but I feel like it really makes the point that we're trying to make here. So Chester Zarnock, Professor Zarnock, I don't know if you're in the audience. We've got so many participants, I can't quite see them all. But Chester Zarnock does not have a ton of followers on Twitter, and yet he has an outsized presence on Twitter. I have seen his work retweeted by Bette Midler, yes, the divine Miss M. And this was an amazing example here. So right after Hurricane Ida, there was this phenomenon in the streets of New York City of drowned rats. And Neil Phillip, who's also a CUNY professor, they're not at Baruch or the GC, put a little tweet up about seeing these rats who'd been drowned in the floodwaters. And Professor Zarnock responded saying, you know, we also found some of these rats near our study site on the Queens side of the Bay. Okay, so now journalists out there are looking for stories about what happened after Hurricane Ida, right? And so they're all looking for the hashtag Hurricane Ida, and they come across this thing. And this tweet exchange between Professor Phillip and Professor Zarnock was embedded. I mean, they took a screenshot of it and they embedded it into articles in Newsweek, the Daily Mail, and, you know, a dozen other mainstream media stories. And you know, so why does this matter? Well, you know, Professor Zarnock was identified as a Baruch CUNY professor of environmental science. You know, it brings it brings attention to the institution, you know, and despite the kind of icky nature of the subject, I mean, it shows that, you know, our professors are out there. They live in New York. We are New Yorkers. We experience what New York experiences. We're part of the conversation. He's at a study site, okay, the day after Ida, or someone, you know, that he's working with in his lab, or his students. And it just makes it clear that, like, we're in it. CUNY's in it, Baruch's in it, GC's in it. And so that, you know, I feel like that's a great example of just, you know, you're tweeting about something that happened to you, that's related to your research, that's related to, you know, New York, and this, and you can, you know, you can get this kind of publicity or pickup.
It's a great example, Beth.
And here's another one.
Else.
Yeah, I know Professor Degraw is here. Do you want to just talk about this? Can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Oh, hi, hi, everybody. I wasn't thinking of having my camera on, but yeah, I presented at a conference that happened recently, and this presentation, I think, yeah, was the very last day of the conference, the very last presentation slot. And you know how that goes. We probably don't get a whole lot of folks who want to, you know, come and hang out. So why not tweet about it? So got more Twitter impressions than folks in the actual Zoom room, but it's all good. And it's kind of fun. People follow up with emails like, hey, can I read your paper? We have overlap. So there's also a lot of stuff that happens off Twitter as a result of a tweet like this. So yeah, good fun.
Yeah, and I want to point out, you know, humor is a hugely effective tone to adopt on Twitter. So she starts this out by saying, no weekend plans, come to my academic conference, you know. So I mean, that's just like a very classic kind of Twitter approach that, you know, it's likable, it's fun, you know, it kind of puts the fun in academic stuff. And you know, I highly recommend everybody follow Professor Degraw, because she does a great job. She recently did a tweet about an article that she had published. She offered to get copies of the article to people. There was a lot of interaction as a result of that. So it's, you know, she's definitely a great example of how to use Twitter to promote your work and, you know, conferences, that kind of thing.
And a quick thing, it's always good to have a visual with your tweet, even if it's only the first slide of your PowerPoint presentation. So take note, add a little visual, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely great tip. Thank you. Here's one more example.
Yeah, and I've got one more. Sorry to hog this section of the presentation. We kind of lined them all up here. So this is a Graduate Center PhD student, Eric Angel Ramos. We actually did an interview with him for the GC website during the pandemic about his use of social media, because it was so amazing. And he's just a master of using social media to promote what might be sort of obscure marine mammal research. This little Twitter thread, it goes on for 3 or 4 tweets, was about a study that he published on dolphins. And he cites the study, he tags his collaborators, he hashtags his topics. And when we talked to him about, you know, how do you use social media, I don't know how old he is, maybe 28, 29. I doubt that he's here. If he is, you know, hop on. He said that he uses it for all kinds of things. You know, there are marine mammal scientists all over the world. How do you find them from New York City? He uses social media to connect with them. He shares his findings. He meets collaborators. He gets ideas for research, grants, and even equipment. This little video in this tweet showed these dolphins, you know, at this site where he was studying them. And he made this video with a drone. And he told me that he got the idea for using a drone in his research from social media, because he saw that other people were doing it. He then used social media to find out if there was any grant funding or, you know, funding available at CUNY to buy a drone. And he was able to get the funding to buy a drone to use in his research. So it's just a terrific example of, you know, the multifaceted ways that getting your work out there on social media can benefit your research. It's not just about self-promotion. It's actually about furthering the work that you are doing.
All right, let's move on to another platform here. Should you be using Facebook? Well, I'm going to say this one is a maybe. It's a little bit more complicated. It is, in fact, the biggest social network. We were just looking up the numbers yesterday. Beth, it was, do you remember now?
I was almost 3
1.95
billion, I
billion
think.
daily users, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost 3 billion.
And so it is, in fact, the biggest social network. But that doesn't mean that you can reach almost 3 billion people who have accounts. There is an algorithm, you're likely aware of this, that limits who sees your posts. So my recommendation is, if you are already using Facebook just to connect with your friends and family, to use your personal account to occasionally post your work and academic related information. And then on those posts that are work related or related to your studies, just change the privacy setting to make them public. And that way they can be shared with a wider audience. And then the next time you post a picture of your dog or your kid, be sure that you change that privacy setting back to only your friends. You can change the privacy settings on any post. What I think Facebook is useful for is finding groups. There are Facebook groups related to all different fields of studies and different areas of interest. And that really helps you connect with people who are studying the same things that you are doing all around the world and who are interested in the same things. And it's a great place to post questions and get advice. That I think is very useful. What I don't recommend you doing is starting like a public page. Like a celebrity would have a page that you would become a fan of. And the reason for this is that it is extremely hard to start to get a following, to build a network there. Facebook knows that its users want to connect with real people and their friends, not with brand pages. This would be called like a brand page. And so they don't show your posts to many people. You will get your posts seen by many, many more people if you just use your personal account, so that Facebook thinks it's coming from a person instead of from a brand. Did you want to add anything there, Beth?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Okay, how about Instagram? Well, again, it's a little bit complicated. I think it depends a lot on what you're trying to do and who you're trying to reach. So one question is, do you have great photos? Do you have photos that, do you have a lot of photos to work with? Sometimes, our work might be very solitary, just, sitting at a computer or working on spreadsheets. That's going to be hard to have like an engaging Instagram account with. But, we have marine biologists here. We have art historians who have fantastic Instagram accounts. There are so many fields and areas of study where this is actually extremely effective. And also, if you're trying to reach undergraduates, let's be honest, there's more undergraduates on Instagram than on Twitter or Facebook. So it's a good way to reach them. Again, think about your audience and your goals there. The biggest con for me is that you can't include links to get more information the way you can on Twitter, right? And also on Facebook. So you can't say, I just published a study on this and here's the link. You can put them in your bio, and people always say link in bio, but in reality, not that many people go through all the work to try and click on that. It's just so cumbersome. Beth?
Yeah, go to the next slide, because I think we have a great example, right?
Yeah.
There we go. I don't know if Emily Johnson is here, journalism professor. If she is, I invite you to jump in. She uses Instagram to great effect. She takes beautiful, wonderful, intriguing photos of the work that she does as a journalist. And I think it's a really good example of how to kind of get visibility for who you are, what you do, if you have something that is visual in nature. I think the bottom line here is, just remember, Instagram is a visual medium. If you don't have a good visual, your post is not going to get that much attention. The professor has been doing research in Ethiopia with the conflict with the Tigrayan region. And so she's been posting about that. And she's a great person to follow on Instagram. And I'll just amplify what Coralie said. Instagram is where the kids are. You want to reach students? That's where they are. I manage the Baruch Weissman accounts. I can post about events at Baruch and great research at Baruch and things that are happening at Baruch till the cows come home and nobody pays any attention. But if I put one random picture of one undergraduate drinking a cup of coffee on the plaza outside the building, I get 100 likes in 20 minutes. It's just unbelievable. You know, like everybody else, undergraduates want to see themselves. They're on Instagram. That's a great place to connect with them. But think sort of strategically about how you can engage people on Instagram with a great visual.
All right, let's move on to LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I think, is a lot more straightforward. This is clearly an effective platform for us to be in. Keep in mind that LinkedIn is really a job searching platform. So people are going to LinkedIn when they are looking for a job. But I think we should all have a presence there. You can upload some version of your CV. It doesn't have to be the entire thing. And one unique thing about LinkedIn is that, well, on other platforms, if all you did was post like, I got this award, I got this promotion, I just got appointed to this committee, you would come off as like a braggart, right? But on LinkedIn, that's actually what it's for. That's the expectation. And everyone just likes to congratulate you on these things. So it is a great place to post about your awards and your accolades, any research that you have published. I mean, it's really what it's for. It's a career-based, job-based social network. Just know that when people are going to it, they're probably going there because they're looking for a career change. They're not going on it just to have fun, right?
Although I would add that, you know, I go on LinkedIn to fact check and to just get information about people that I might need to include in material that I'm producing for Baruch. So let's say a professor says, oh, I have this amazing alumnus who was in my class and now she's in law school or now she's in med school. Can we do a little profile on her? And so I want to, you know, before I email her, I want to find out a little bit about her. What year did she graduate? What was her major? Where is she now? Did she have any interesting internships? You know, a lot of times it's amazing. Our alumni will put these posts up about how great Baruch was for their career preparation. So I go and I do a little research on this person before I email them and, you know, just try to get my ducks in line. So just, you know, if you're going to be on LinkedIn, make sure all of your information is accurate. And, you know, you never know who might be looking for someone to speak at a conference and they want to know what your background is like, or someone to collaborate on a paper, or someone, you know, to invite to be a mentor or a speaker or something like that. So it's not just about, oh, I'm looking for a new job. It's also about your professional profile being out there in a way that people can access it if they need to.
I would go so far as to say if it kind of substitutes having a personal website and that about me page on a personal website.
I agree.
So, yeah. What about some of the other platforms like TikTok or Clubhouse? I say it's possible, but again, you just need to think about your audience. What are you trying to do here? If you are trying to, you know, connect with other people about your research and get your research cited, then I don't know if your dance video is really going to do that. But if you're trying to reach undergraduates and maybe you're really passionate about science education and you want to like spread these scientific concepts to a general audience, yeah, this could be really great. And then again, just think about your time and your skills. Like if it doesn't sound appealing to you, no one's pressuring you to do this. And I think it's better to kind of focus on one social network that you're actually going to have the time to do instead of start 5 different accounts and not be active on any of them.
I'll just point out there's some great stuff in the chat about TikTok, including someone I guess we should all check out, Hank Green. And yes, we should get the undergraduates to do a workshop for us on TikTok. Baruch has reserved an account on TikTok. They've not used it yet. You know, it's definitely a matter of time, like how much time is there in the day? And is this something that we would be good at, us grown-ups and non-dancers. I talked to a few undergraduates about TikTok. Well, what do you do on TikTok? Oh, I look at dance videos and cooking videos. Okay, I'm not sure how Baruch Weissman fits into that. Maybe when BPAC starts up again, if we have, dance performances or something, I don't know. I actually advertised this semester for a work study student to do some TikTok creation for us just as an experiment. I didn't have any takers, but if I invite anybody out there, if you have a work study student at Baruch who's big on TikTok and is chatting about it, send them to me. And if I can connect with them next semester, I'm willing to try it. And we, as Professor Degraw says, we have a great plaza for dance videos. Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so now we've reviewed the platforms and I would like us to get started. If you haven't already, I want you to take out your phone, and if you have a Twitter account, please open it up. If you have a Twitter account that you don't use very often, go through the process to reset your password and unlock it so you have access to it again. And if you don't have an account, download the app and start an account right now. I like to say it just takes 2 thumbs and an email address to start a Twitter account. That part is very, very easy. If you are just starting one, you need to choose a handle, or if you have an old one that you were just using for like fun and you weren't using it for professional reasons, you might want to reconsider your handle. I say keep it professional. Using some version of your name is preferable. The shorter the better, because there is a character limit on Twitter. So really long ones are hard to type in and don't leave a lot of room to write other things. Here's a few examples I found of academic Twitter handles that I thought were great. You can either put prof ahead of it, you can put PhD behind some version of your name. Some people use their like a word that indicates their field, like Astro Katie or Neuronina. You can change your handle. So if you like started a handle that was like, guacamole lover 82, go ahead and you keep your same account, just change your handle to something more professional. But it's best to try and find a handle and get a handle that you can keep for the long term. And for that reason, I actually don't recommend using the institution that you are working at, because if you change that institution, then you will have to go back and change your Twitter handle. I say this from experience. I used to be Corley AP and then Corley NBC, and now I finally wisened up and I'm just Corley NYC, and I hope I never move.
And don't follow my example either. I called myself Literary DJ back in 2007. I sort of imagined a different type of Twitter feed, and then I just never changed it. In 2007, it seemed cool to come up with some little cool phrase instead of your name, but it's not the way to do it in 2021.
Yeah, just some version of your name. It's very personal. I happen to have a unique first name, so I use that. Some people might have a unique last name, so they use that, or some version of it.
And I would also, Curly and I also talked about, if you have a common name, even if you don't have a common name, you want to try to make sure that there aren't like 10 of you out there. I was stunned when I was tweeting something about something Professor Vincent DiGirolamo wrote, and it turned out there were 2 Vince DiGirolamos on Twitter. I figured out which the right one was, but yeah, if you have a common name, you may want to add a little something, year of your birth, or, NYC or history or something like that, or just one.
Right. And we're going to talk a little bit more now about how to optimize your account so people can find the right you. Okay. The first thing you need to do is upload a profile photo. You do need a photo. Otherwise, people will assume your account is fake. Like we said, it's so easy to start a Twitter account and so free that a lot of people start fake accounts. You need a photo. Preferably, it's going to be a headshot, a professional looking photo that you like of yourself. I do understand that some people are hesitant to put a photo of themselves out there for many different reasons, and I respect that. So you can use a photo of a logo or some inanimate object or something like that, but just take a moment to think it through and keep it in line with your brand. I have, a mug that says Crazy Cat Lady, and I do love coffee and I do love cats. So I could take a photo of that mug and use it instead of a picture of my face, But then every single time I tweet something serious, people will be seeing the photo of my mug that says crazy cat lady. And that's just not the way I want to be representing myself. I want to represent myself as, you know, a social media professional, a journalist, things like that.
Curly, I'm just looking in the chat and there are some pertinent questions to the process. John Wallach says, Twitter rejects his handle. What are the requirements? Someone is theorizing, perhaps it's already taken. Do you have a middle initial that you can use? Do you have, like, is your, I apologize, I'm not sure what your field is, but could you say, you know, John Wallach Science or John Wallach History, or, you know, if you're born and raised in Brooklyn, John Wallach Brooklyn, something like that?
Yeah. I would, for those of you who have to leave, this will be recorded and we will email you a link to the recording afterwards, okay?
So he used capital JRW, lowercase PhD, capital POL, capital TH. I don't know, maybe it doesn't like all the up and downs. How about if you just did John Wallach PhD?
Yeah, and that would be a lot easier for someone to then read and copy.
And remember.
I would say keep trying and maybe keep it a little bit simpler. Yeah, like your name followed by PhD would be fine.
Yeah, so that when, you know, when you're emailing someone or talking to them on the phone and you're like, oh yeah, follow me on Twitter, or they say, are you on Twitter? You can just say John Wallach PhD, something simple. And also just about the photo, I know some people are very concerned about facial recognition software. I totally get it. My photo on my Twitter account is like a kind of a profile, like looking down. People know it's me because of the hair, but my face is not available for social recognition software. And we also did we talk a little bit about the background photo?
That's what's next. Go for it. Oh, okay, I'll go for it. So you do also need to have a cover photo, and that can be something generic like a sunset or the New York City skyline. It could be a photo of your lab or your team, or like the front of the main building on campus or something like that. But again, you do want a cover photo just so you look like a legit account.
Yeah, and one idea for that, for academics and people who love books, it has to be a horizontal photo, right? So you could take a picture of a very carefully curated shelf of your bookshelf. And by the way, you can change these photos up. You don't have to figure this all out right now. You can even create an account without a photo. You know, you can think about what you want to put up, and you can always change those photos out as time goes on. John Wallach is asking, is a username different from a handle? I don't think so, right? Isn't that the same thing?
I use those two terms interchangeably. So
Yeah,
if you can look at this example on the screen, we have John Preskill, and he writes his name out, but then the little thing on @ underneath, that's your handle. I think using your book cover is an excellent idea to use as a cover photo, or as a profile photo or a cover photo. And it's natural to change these things. So don't feel like if you use your book cover, you're going to be stuck with that your whole life. Next time you publish, put up the new book cover.
Absolutely.
Next, and this is actually really important, is to write a bio. This is very short. There is a character limit, and it should include your title, your university affiliations. Instead of just using the names of the institutions, use the handles, use the Twitter handles so that someone could click on them and link right back through. And also feel free to include some personal details here, because people want to engage with a person, not a brand. So I love this example by Daniel Keaty, who's at the ASRC, and I hope he doesn't mind that I use his example a lot. But he says his interests are protein, structural biophysics, and puns. And that way we know that it sounds much more like somebody that I would want to connect with on Twitter at that point. It sounds kind of funny, right? Without being like, you know, it still sounds like a serious scientist, right? But also kind of funny.
And the bio is another way that people can be sure that it's you. Like, you know, if I'm trying to figure out, you know, which Joanna Fernandez on Twitter is my Joanna Fernandez, professor of history at Baruch Weissman, there are a lot of people with that name on Twitter. If I didn't know what she looked like, how would I know that I'm tagging the right one? I would look in her bio where she, would identify herself as a professor at CUNY.
And also, as just as a regular user, if someone follows me on Twitter, I get a little notification that I've got a new follower. And the natural thing I do is look at their Twitter profile and see if there's someone that I would like to follow back. And as soon as I see that they are a journalist or affiliated with CUNY in any way, I say, oh, sure, of course, I'd like to connect with you on Twitter. If they don't have any information, I'm like, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to follow you back. So this is one way that you can get followers, is just by telling people effectively who you are. All right, so now let's actually try this. Yes, actually, we have a pretty good way of sharing Twitter accounts also. So you can put them in the chat, but we've got this kind of set up in the.
We've got a list for you. We'll give you a
So
list that you can.
the first thing I want you to do here is take a photo, take a selfie, or maybe a photo of your screen, or maybe you've got your cat sitting next to you, or whatever it is. And then write a very short message about what you're learning today, what we're talking about, and include the handles of everyone involved. So there you've got GC CUNY, Baruch Wiseman. And also, this is important, at some point, usually we put these at the end, just put the hashtag, like hashtag CUNY proud. Okay, so we're going to take a five minutes here and just actually do this. Beth is going to be doing it from the Baruch Wiseman account. And I'm going to, so for those of you who are brand new, what you do is tap that little blue button with the feather quill to start composing a tweet. If you took your photo, it will, in your camera app, it'll be down here. Or if you want to take it in the Twitter app, you can just tap on that camera button and take a photo. And then you can type up here, and this is like your little message composer box. Okay, so you can compose your message, you compose your little tweet. Be sure to include at GC CUNY, at Baruch Wiseman, and the hashtag CUNY proud.
And I did do a tweet from the Baruch Wiseman account with the hashtag CUNY proud. So now if you go to search on Twitter, right? There's that little magnifying glass on the bottom. If you go
It's
there,
the second icon in the bottom.
Yeah, the second icon.
You can,
and then it'll give you a field on top, search Twitter, right? So now if I search for CUNY proud, I should be able to see my own tweet and others. Well, there's other stuff in there. I don't see anybody else from our session. There are other CUNY tweets out there, but anyway, you can certainly find the one that I just did, and you can retweet it, or you can like it, or whatever.
Great. So once you have finished sending your tweet, I know it does take a few minutes. Not a lot of time, but it does take a few minutes, especially when we are all kind of doing this at once. Let's see. I just put those in the chat, the two handles and the CUNY proud, if it's easier for you to copy and paste it all. Then I want you to search for that hashtag CUNY proud as Beth just instructed, and retweet someone else's tweet from the event. How is a hashtag different from a handle? A hashtag is a search term, and we'll talk about that more. It has that pound sign in front of it. Handle is the name of someone's account.
So the hashtags have the number sign, right? The little
Pound, yeah.
the little 4-line thing, a pound or a number sign, and that's a search term, right? So Hispanic Heritage Month, CUNY proud, World Food Day, Pride Month. Those are going to be hashtags, and those help people who are looking for content that's the same as the content you're posting find your posts. A handle or a username is the account name for the person or entity that is posted. So at Baruch_Wiseman is the handle for the Baruch account. At Vince DiGirolamo, I think that's Professor DiGirolamo's Twitter account, is his handle or username. And I see there are some really great questions in the chat. I'm just going to try to go through them. Can you use a CUNY email for a professional Twitter account? Yes, you can. I don't see why you couldn't. How do you change your handle? Ooh, Curly, I mean,
So you can,
that's an issue, right?
you can, it's not difficult. I usually do that on a desktop though. So you might want to log into your account from a desktop and you can go into settings and you can change your handle.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's see what else. What is going on with the facial recognition software? What should be aware of? I mean, I have no idea. I just threw that out because I know people have said, oh, I don't want my face as my profile photo because I'm worried about it. It's not something that I'm particularly worried about. I put my photo up there on my personal account as a kind of a profile just because I like that photo. Most people are not worried about that, but there are a few, so I'm just throwing it in. And yeah, your book cover is a great, as Curly said. A lot of people are asking, how can we get a recording of this? We're going to send, it's going to take a couple days, but we'll upload it to YouTube. I'll put it on the Baruch Weissman YouTube account, and we'll also send links to everybody who registered.
Okay. So I think, Beth, do you mind if we move on a little bit here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I think some of these questions will be answered in the next.
Well, here's an important one though. How do you edit a tweet? You can't. You can only delete it and try again. Unfortunately,
you don't get to edit them.
It's the one social media that you can't do much with. Okay, so using handles, as we said, that's the name of the account, right? Ensures that your tweet will be seen. And we have a great little example here of this was the newsletter that I put out this week. I have, our latest Baruch Weissman newsletter is out with stories on this artist. I tagged her using her username. She has an exhibit at Baruch this semester. She's a visiting artist. And I wanted her to know that I had put this up. Hopefully she'll retweet it. And then I tagged as many professors as I could fit who I had mentioned in the newsletter in the naked hopes that they would retweet my tweet. You can see that there are 6 tweets there. I think probably all these professors retweeted this. So that helps my tweet get more views. And what am I ultimately looking for? I'm looking for people I also included the link to the newsletter. So I'm looking for people to actually click on the link for the newsletter and read the newsletter, which has all kinds of, cool stuff about what's happening at Baruch Weissman. And I created a little photo collage. You can upload photos with your tweet. We recommend that you do a visual whenever possible. And you can upload a number of photos. There's a little widget at the bottom of the, the tweet thing. It's a little on the far left. There's a little icon for a photo. There's next to it is a little icon for a GIF, and Twitter supplies all kinds of rights-free GIFs. A lot of them are a little edgy or silly or weird, so you want to be careful before you use one of them. Yeah, I think that's it.
So I'll just chime in here. Use the handles of any relevant account, any person, institution, company to your tweet. It will ensure that they see your tweet and they are the people the most likely to engage with your tweet. So for instance, if you are tweeting anything about your research or your work at the Graduate Center, you should include the handle of the Graduate Center. I personally manage this account. And when that will flag the tweet to me, and I routinely retweet everything that's relevant. So 98% of the stuff that is tagged to us, I retweet, and the others, I think they just meant to tag someone else. So now you don't have that many followers, I'm guessing. Maybe you've got a few hundred followers. Well, the Graduate Center has 17,000 followers, and that way we can get your tweets seen by many more people. I use this exact same strategy because 17,000, I'm very proud of it, but we're not the biggest account out there by any means. So I tag, the Daily News when I'm tweeting an op-ed that one of our faculty members wrote there, and the Daily News retweeted us, and they've got a much bigger Twitter following. So that got my tweet seen by a lot more eyeballs. Just a few other pro tips here to do quickly. I'm saying to tweet these accounts. How do you find these accounts? Do not waste your time using the search function within any of the social platforms. It is frustrating. You probably won't find what you're looking for. just use Google. I Google Beth Harpez Twitter, and the first thing that comes up is her Twitter account. You're not sure, wait, Baruch Wiseman, was there an underscore or is it just one word? Just Google Baruch Wiseman Instagram and the name of the account will come up. And then this is a lesser used trick, but I think it's very relevant for the people in this workshop today. And that is using HT, which means hat tip or heard through. So like what you might do is say, Twitter is a great way to reach other or network with other academics. HT at Corley NYC, because you heard that through me, right? So first of all, you're giving credit to the person who said it, right? That's important in academia. And second, you just tagged me. Now I saw your tweet, and guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna engage with it. So I'm gonna like it and I'm gonna retweet it, and suddenly you're getting your tweet seen by more eyeballs. So it's a good way to increase engagement and give credit where credit is due. I see some great tweets here. Love the dog and the cat, fantastic. What should you be tweeting outside of this workshop? Well, this is a question we get all the time. I think the number one thing to do if you're not sure where to start is to compliment people, all right? So give a great shout out to a colleague or a student who did something great, include a photo, and guess what? If they're on Twitter, they are going to engage with that and click that little heart button to like it, retweet it with a comment that says, "Oh, thanks so much. I think you're the best too." It's very likable. It's very shareable. Anybody who knows the person you complimented is going to like and retweet it. Slice of life photos and observations from your work, your research, your classes. People want to know what you're doing, and we want to know like what your daily life is like as an academic. So anything that shows us that is really cool. I love seeing that. Use photos whenever possible. It's just the way the human brain works. If we see a photo, we pay more attention to it. However, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If you don't have a photo, don't let that stop you from tweeting, right? Links to your published work. Love to see that. If there's an event that you're trying to get people to register for, definitely tweet that out with a link to the registration. Links to just interesting articles in your field. Maybe the New York Times wrote a great article and you tweet a link to it, but always include a line that says why you found it interesting, right?
And invite others to comment. That's I love reading those conversations on Twitter, you know, like, OMG, did you see this crazy op-ed in the New York Times? This is making me spit my coffee out. What do you think? And then I get to read the 5 responses to that.
Yeah, or it might be something like, you know, there's a new study that just found footprints in the Southwest that prove that humans were in this continent earlier than we thought. So if you're an anthropologist, maybe you tweet a link to that and you say, what I really found interesting about this was X, Y, and Z. What do you guys think? And then, you know, your colleagues can weigh in. That's super interesting. Again, you don't have to have all of the content yourself. You can retweet what other people are doing or are saying.
So on the tweets themselves, there's this little these little 2 arrows that go around in a circle underneath a tweet. And if you click that, you will retweet someone else's tweet on your account. And there's also a little heart, you can like it. So I've been looking for everybody's tweets. You guys are doing amazing. And I've been retweeting and hearting them all from the Baruch Wiseman account.
I'm sorry, I went too fast. And then finally, it is good to tweet some personal thoughts or updates because, again, people want to engage with a person, not a brand. So if all we're doing is I published this study, I just got appointed to this, you know, you just sound like, you know, your own personal headline service. I know we're not all comfortable sharing personal details publicly, and I'm not pressuring anyone to do anything they're not comfortable with. A lot of us are comfortable, starting with pets. So, you know, you can tweet a picture of your dog or your cat or your hamster, whatever it is. And it definitely like makes you seem more like a relatable person. A couple questions here. How do you add a comment to a tweet? So there's 2 things you can do when you are You've got this little 2 arrows with that kind of form a square. You tap that to retweet, and you can choose to either retweet or quote tweet. Tap on that quote tweet and it allows you to put your own message, which I very much plan on doing to compliment this kitten that I might be in love with. So now, what does retweeting actually do? You are resharing that message with your followers. That's what you're doing. So great question. Thank you. Beth, you want to do this?
Oh, sure. This is just about my favorite example of what can happen when you just tweet about the great stuff you're doing. And I don't know if Professor Rojo Robles is in the audience. If you are, I invite you to unmute yourself and join the conversation. This was at the end of the spring semester, he put together this great collage of Latinx themed film and TV shows. And he just put up a tweet. The last class of my course, Latinx Screens, Film, TV, and Video, was today. He hashtagged the names of one of the shows. He hashtagged his department, Baruch Black and Latino Studies. Okay, every day I get clips from a clipping service that mention Baruch Weitzman, right? And lo and behold, Remezcla, which is a Latinx media and culture site with like 2 million followers, had included this tweet in a story they did. They never contacted him. They didn't interview him. They just said, oh, well, there's this great class that took place at Baruch College this past semester on Latinx culture and media. Look at this tweet from the professor. And, you know, the professor was, I don't even think he was aware of it until I noticed it and I put it on our newsletter. But, you know, why does that matter? Because, you know, we want to show that CUNY is interested in Latinx culture, Latinx media, Latinx themed content, that we have professors who care about that stuff. We teach that stuff. And it just, you know, it brings glory on the institution and the individual. And, you know, if there are students out there or donors out there or grant organizations out there that are looking at Remezcla or Googling, you know, Latinx culture, they see this and suddenly Baruch is on their radar. It helps us be a player in that topic area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now finally, you know, we're nearing the end here, how to get more followers. If there's one thing you got to do to get more followers, it's engage, engage, engage. So that means you're not just tweeting updates about yourself, updates about your work. You are retweeting other people. You are replying to other people. You are liking their posts. You are following other people. And when you are tweeting, you are using the handles and the hashtags so that people get that notification and can engage with you. And then when they reply, you reply back. I do think you need to be on the platform. I recommend logging on and posting daily if you can. If you've really made a goal of building up your Twitter following, you got to be on it. You don't have to be on it all day. Maybe you're just logging on for 5 minutes a day. But if I look at somebody's Twitter account and they have not posted anything in a year, I'm not going to follow them because I don't see that this is a way that I can actually reach them, right? I'm going to look and see if I can find an email address or something because I can't reach them they're not on Twitter. So if you can post daily, if you can log on daily and engage with people on a daily basis, that is key to getting more followers. You do have to follow the accounts of others. Now, Kim Kardashian does not have to follow anyone else's accounts, but we do. And we shouldn't do it in a spammy way at all. But when you find people you actually want to engage with on Twitter, people in your field, people connected to the Graduate Center or CUNY or Baruch, then, you know, follow them. And when you do that, they will likely follow you back. Okay, so if I were really trying to grow the account, my account, I would probably try and find 5 relevant accounts that I actually wanted to engage with a day, follow them, and probably 3 or 4 of them are going to follow me back, you know? You follow your best practices for posting, and then you will see occasional spikes. This isn't magic, so it's not like I'm doing everything and then boom, I've got 1 million followers. What happens is every day you're out there, you're having these little magical moments of engagement, and then occasionally something that you do will just go viral. It'll get picked up by a much bigger account. It'll get picked up in a news article, and you'll see like, oh my God, I just got 50 new followers today. And then a couple days later, you're just kind of back to normal, you know, and you'll see these like spikes, and pretty soon you'll have a big following. Start with your friends. So I say when you're trying to build a social network, start with your real life network. Find out who among your friends and your family and your work colleagues are on Twitter and follow them and engage with them. And for this, you can start with the exercise we just did. Do that hashtag search for CUNY Proud. And all those people were in the workshop today, and you can follow each of them. And if somebody followed you from this workshop, I would encourage you, if you're comfortable, to follow them back, and we can all help build each other up. People always ask about hashtags, which are essentially search terms. They're search terms that we make up ourselves or somebody else has made up. Use them sparingly. I say a max of 3 per tweet. I've seen other people say that if you use up to 2 hashtags, it can get your tweet seen by more people. If you use 3 or more, it actually gets it seen by fewer people. And I think the reason for that is that your tweet still needs to be readable. That's key. Sometimes a hashtag will be trending, like Hurricane Ida. And then you can, if you have something relevant to say, it's a great way to use that hashtag and kind of ride the wave of popularity, because people are searching for that right then, and it will help your tweet get seen. But don't use hashtags just for generic words. So like, if I was just like hashtagging the word school, I mean, would somebody be searching for the word school when they're looking for what I'm tweeting? As like at the Graduate Center, probably it's just too generic. Hashtags are also used for humor. Beth was already mentioning that humor is part of the tone of Twitter. And so sometimes you might say, write your tweet and then put like the hashtag is like your little like kicker joke line at the end, like whatever it might be. We always have to be careful with Twitter, or with humor, but it is a way that people communicate on Twitter. So it's worth knowing that. Oh, and I'm sorry, I do have some hashtags up there in the corner that you might be relevant to you. Academic Chatter is a really good one. It flags your tweet to the Academic Chatter Twitter account, and they might retweet you, which has a much larger following. I would say that would be an effective use for just kind of like general stuff about what it's like to be a graduate student or what it's like to work in academia. And also for things like open houses, they are reaching a wider audience of people who are graduate students or interested in becoming graduate students. Beth, I was going to let you take this one.
Sure. The difference between an @ message and a tweet that starts with a handle. So if I did @Corley NYC, if I started my tweet with @Corley NYC, that only appears in the timelines of someone who follows both me and Corley. If I want a wider audience to see it, then I need to put a period in front of @Corley NYC, or I need to put a word in front of @Corley NYC. So a lot of times at Baruch, I have news about a professor, Professor Fernandez, published a new book. Okay, but if I do @Joanna Fernandez just came out with a book, it's only going to appear in the timelines of the people who follow both of us. If I do congratulations @Joanna Fernandez, then potentially anybody can see it.
All right, so when you're trying to figure out who to follow, we've actually put together some lists for you, and this will be emailed to you after the session. But Beth and I each have a list of Twitter accounts that are associated either with the Graduate Center or with Baruch. I will say that my list is pretty thorough when it comes to departments, less thorough when it comes to individuals. And this is actually an editable version, so I would encourage you to include your own Twitter handle on that spreadsheet. And you'll see a few here on the side that we recommend you following. And that's to the end. We did get some great questions here. I know we're up at the very end.
Yeah,
Thank you for everyone.
I think we answered most of them. There's one that didn't get answered, and I just quickly wanted to get your thoughts on it. Somebody asked about live tweeting. She said she's often asked to live tweet events. Is it worth doing? I have live tweeted things, and sometimes just like because I got a great photo of the speaker or the performance, and I hashtagged it just right. Sometimes that thing will just get like 100 likes from people who have nothing to do with my institution. So, I mean, it's an art live tweeting. You got to get the quotes just right. You got to get a decent photo. You got to get it up in a timely fashion. It's complicated. You kind of have to devote yourself to it. And if you're actually trying to incorporate the information into your own brain, that can be hard. But if you go there as the reporter or the recorder, I think it's worth doing. What do you think, Coralie?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I have to say, I'm with Janet on this. I don't like live tweeting things because I find that I don't get to absorb any of the material from the event. I'm just sitting there trying to like write everything down really quickly. I guess my tips to do it would be, don't feel like you have to live tweet everything. You don't have to get every main point of the event even. Maybe you're just have a goal of tweeting 2 or 3 times from the event. And then also, I find that preparation is really, really key for me. So I think I just said Tim Ellis is really good at this. And sometimes I'll work with him and we will like write down, we'll do our research ahead of time of all the people speaking at an event and find their Twitter handles first. So we have them like in a doc and we can just copy and paste them. So like doing research like that and doing research of like which hashtags might be appropriate. So you're not also trying to think of that while you're live tweeting, I think is helpful. Again, like sometimes there's that kismet and your live tweet will just take off. And also if other people are not able to attend, but they're kind of following your tweets instead, I mean, that's a great service, but it is really challenging. It's a specific skill set.
And maybe we could just answer one more question. I know people have to leave and that's fine, but just for those who can stay. This question about, can PDFs be tweeted? I mean, I don't think so. I think you'd have to take a screenshot and upload it as a JPEG. I mean, I think you want to think about what are you trying to accomplish by tweeting the PDF? Wouldn't you be better off giving us a link to the PDF, put it on some site where you can link to it and then people can go link to it and actually read it, or email it to themselves or whatever? Dropbox link. Yeah, Els Degraw says use a Dropbox link.
Yeah, the use that I see most often is someone has created a flyer for a workshop, not unlike this one, or an event, and they're sending me a PDF to tweet, and you can't actually do it. And often, those images actually have too much text on them and maybe like a link or something that you won't be able to click on anyway. It's usually not the most effective way to promote your event on Twitter anyway. If I do have to use a PDF, I'm just taking a screenshot of it and then using that. And I don't worry about getting all of the words on it because it's going to be so tiny, no one can read all the words.
I mean, sometimes I'll just take a screenshot just to get the logo there if I don't have a better photo. And we forgot to say, as you can see, the images on Twitter are horizontal. If you do a photo of a book cover, the top and the bottom may be cut off. So you want to either do a screenshot of that vertical book cover with black space on either side, or think about what part of the book cover do you want to edit your image to show, maybe just the title or maybe just the author's name or something like that. But remember that horizontal photos do best on Twitter.
We've got a question here from Mariana Pavlovskaya about how to create a Twitter handle for the department. That's actually a service that I can help you with in the communications office. People, when departments want to start Twitter accounts, I can help guide you. I don't run the department Twitter accounts. The department has to have someone that can do that, but I can provide some guidance on choosing a handle, and we can also provide a profile and cover images for a department Twitter account. John Torpy is asking how to retweet something, but he can't get the blue tweet button to send it out.
Is it already on Twitter or are you trying to do it from the Times app?
Yeah, we need more information there. Because typically if you're finding something on Twitter, it's going to have that little to retweet something. Oh, go ahead, John.
It's on Twitter. I'm on my computer on Twitter, and it's down in the lower right-hand corner, and I cannot get to it, and I don't understand why.
If you want to stay on afterwards, we can take a look with you because I'm not sure. Okay. It's hard to know without seeing what you're seeing, what's going on. and I would
Okay.
like to help. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it
it's
should be right, if it's on
And
Twitter,
John
the
Wallace,
little
you can
icons,
also stay on.
yeah, the little icons under that post, the second icon should have those little arrows going around in a circle, and you should be able to just click on that and it should, you know, retweet that post from your own account, and then you'll have to click, you know, you'll have to click again, retweet, but
Mhm.
No, I can't get to any of that, but maybe we could stay on after we're
Yeah.
after it's over.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. John and John, if you want to stay on for a few minutes, we can turn on your video and screen share, and maybe we can try to work this
yeah,
out for you.
we're happy to
Okay.
stay. And you know, I'm at Baruch. I'm here in the office Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays in the Dean Suite in the vertical campus, room 8250 on the 8th floor, or just, you know, email me or tweet at me or something. I'm happy to have you come in and sit with me, and we can do this together if you want to, you know, any more work on it.
Mhm.
This is Annie. I cannot turn my camera on. I just wanted to thank you, both of you. This is a round of applause because it was
you.
amazing. Absolutely.
Thank you all for coming. We know how busy everybody is, and this was just a lot of fun and just great to get everybody together. We hope to maybe do it again. Maybe we can come up with something every semester that, you know, would be great for everybody to kind of work on together.